I want to talk about private practices and like parent training focus, right? If you are a parent and your child has autism and you are on a waiting list for ABA, there are BCBAs that started their own private practice, and there's a lot of resources out that will focus on parent training model only. In ABA, when you receive ABA, you are not directly working with the BCBA often. You don't see the BCBA every single day. You are going to be seeing the one-to-one, the RBT, right? You see the BCBA about 10% of the hours that your child will be receiving. So for instance, you will probably see the BCBA, depending on like if you have 20 hours of ABA, you should be seeing the BCBA for 2 hours a week. And so if you take that monthly, it's about 8 hours a month you would see BCBA if you had 20 hours and if it's 10% of the hours, okay? And I'm sharing that because there are BCBAs that are starting their own practice offering parent support while they are on the waiting list. So with this parent support and the services of parent training or caregiver coaching, you're going to be receiving and understanding what ABA is before you even get into the ABA therapy. So you're going to have a baseline knowledge and kind of start understanding concepts. But with the training, they'll be able to give you strategies and tools for you to have on your tool belt while you're waiting for services. Now, sometimes, well, for the most part, there are BCBAs that have private practice. And usually it's like private pay because we don't want to deal with insurance. And when you're dealing with insurance, that's a whole nother avenue. But sometimes with insurance, you're restricted with what you could provide services on. And I'm going to be having an insurance biller on my podcast and also on my Instagram. And we're going to be working together because we're going to be going over that to support BCBAs, especially new BCBAs. But my whole point is that parents that are new to the ABA field or they're on waiting lists, they don't know what's involved with parent training and they don't know what ABA is. So this is why I'm going to start sharing like how I use ABA with my daughter, because I'll be able to explain like really simple concepts for you to see and for you to see how valuable parent training could be while you are on the waiting list. And like I said, there's BCBAs that have their own private practice, so it would be out-of-pocket pay. But also too, there's this thing called a super bill. And a super bill, So basically how a super bill works, right? You need to call your insurance company or provider and ask them, hey, do you have how much do you reimburse for out-of-network providers? Depending on your policy, they could reimburse up to 70%, okay? So let's say that the BCBA charges $100 an hour, right? So you met with the BCBA $100 an hour. The BCBA will write a super bill, which is just basically a receipt that says, hey, I spent 1 hour using this code. They would know the code, and they give you the receipt, the parent. The parent would then send that receipt to the insurance company, and then the insurance company would reimburse the family 70%, which would be $70. So technically, the parent is really out of pocket $30. It depends all on your insurance provider. So parents need to call their insurance provider and ask, how much do you guys reimburse for out-of-network providers? And then you can find an out-of-network provider, which are usually BCBA consultants, private practices, and then you can get a super bill with that provider, get the services that you need, and you still get reimbursed. So now you're gaining knowledge and you're taking advantage of the resources that you have, and it's a win-win.